So today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips that will save you time, money, or even headaches when traveling to Vietnam. Now, some of these tips will be a bit nuanced because sometimes if you want to save money, then it's going to cost you extra time and maybe some comfort. That being said, I will try to give you my best advice, having been here over 8 times and been living here over the last 6 months. And then you can decide, given your budget, time, and values, what makes the most sense for you. So without further ado, tip number 1 is all about SIM cards. More than likely, when traveling to Vietnam, you're going to want to be able to stay connected to, well, everything, the internet, and the way of doing that is to buy a SIM card. Now, SIM cards here overall are very inexpensive, they're very cheap, and you can usually get like a 30-day plan. I'm not going to necessarily give any specifics. What I will say is there's 3 major players. You have Viettel, Vinaphone, and Mobilephone. Now, all of these are pretty good companies and can be found throughout all of Vietnam. Viettel is generally thought to have the better coverage, so that may save you some headaches. That being said, it will cost you a little bit more because usually Mobilephone and Vinaphone, they seem to have a little bit better deals and promotions. Now, when you get off the plane and get through immigrations, there will be tons of options available to you right there at the airport. Now, a lot of people will tell you not to buy a SIM card at the airport because they are going to cost you more money. And of course, if you're on a budget, that is an option to maybe go off site and go off the airport before buying a SIM card. You can for sure get a better deal. That being said, Vietnam is a fairly inexpensive country in general. So if you don't want to take the extra time and also pay for extra transportation to go to a phone service carrier outside of the airport, then it may be best to spend like the extra $5 or $10 or even $15 and get it taken care of in the airport. That is, of course, up to you. My personal thoughts are, maybe if you're with a group, let one person go ahead and get their SIM card so it kind of lowers that anxiety and you're already somewhat connected, and maybe let the other person in the group maybe hold back and hold on to their phone. You can always connect to Wi-Fi, and generally speaking, Wi-Fi is widely available throughout Vietnam. The other benefit of doing that, you may realize that you don't necessarily need 2 different people with a local SIM card. You may just need one. Personally, what I've decided to do is not get a SIM card and let my wife get a SIM card. That way, some of the banking information or the other social media apps, they'll want to do like an identification code, and I don't always have to pop out my SIM card and pop in my American SIM card in order for them to send me a code. I can take care of some of the banking stuff, and my wife, who speaks Vietnamese, can have the local SIM card and talk when needed. I know not everybody has that same situation, so you can kind of judge what's best for yourself. So tip number 2 is more straightforward, and that is to go ahead and download Grab. Grab is essentially Southeast Asia's version of Uber or Lyft, and it's a good idea to go ahead and have it downloaded. And the reason is because taxis at the airport, right when you get somewhere, usually, generally speaking, kind of upcharge you because they're waiting right outside. So you can go ahead and know what your price is going to be to get you from the airport to the hotel or wherever your destination is, and you don't have to go out and kind of try to mingle or negotiate with any of the taxis there, or get surprised later on when you had a high meter in a taxi, and kind of just take out the headache and take out the guesswork. Now, moving quickly to number 3 and sticking in the transportation category, I would say that buses are a great way to get around from further locations. If you're in Hanoi and want to go to Ha Long Bay or maybe even Sepa, generally speaking, a bus is going to be your cheapest option. That being said, if you want to maybe pay a little bit extra for some convenience and savings on some time, then I would recommend splurging a bit and going for a luxury sleeper bus. By doing so, you get a much bigger and more comfortable bed, and it also gives you more room if, for example, you want to have your backpack with some valuables beside you. I know personally, it made me a bit nervous to put my backpack with my camera and my laptop underneath the bus, but when I was going on the smaller bus, or rather the more budget-friendly bus, I didn't have enough room to keep it with me. Whereas when I paid a little bit extra and went with the more luxury sleeper bus, I was able to have my backpack right with me, and that peace of mind, well, it saved me a lot of headache. On top of that, it will save you time because they tend to stop less. I know from Hanoi to Sepa and Sepa to Hanoi, Taking the luxury bus shaved off about an hour to an hour and a half of our trip. And to me, along with the other benefits, that made it completely worth it. Alternatively, you can consider catching a train. You can go further for cheaper. I personally really liked that option because you got some really cool views and you were also able to get up and walk around and have a restroom right on the train. Now, the downside is if you do get motion sickness, then maybe consider taking like a Dramamine or something like that, because the train does tend to rock quite a bit. My wife got a little bit sick. I did not. So depending on who you are, that's something to take into consideration. Now, moving on to number 4, I will say here's 5, I'll say magic words to learn before you come to Vietnam. Overall, I think these can benefit you in a lot of different ways, probably save you definitely some money. It'll make a lot of people happier around you, and it will make you a more considerate person towards the culture. And these 5 words are Xin Chào, which means hello. Oftentimes, a lot of people will want to speak English to you and they will say hello. And I like to personally go hello and then Xin Chào back. And it usually brings a big smile to people's face, knowing that you know just a bit of Vietnamese. The second word I will say is Cảm ơn, which means thank you. The way that I remembered that word is I said come on, and it was pretty easy to think Cảm ơn. I personally like to be able to say thank you in whichever country that I go to. I find it builds quick rapport, and anytime you can build a connection with the locals, it makes for a better experience. The third word or phrase is Xin lỗi. Oftentimes you will find yourself in a large crowded area, and just being able to say excuse me as you're passing through, or maybe you're in a market and you're about to start a negotiation and you want to get somebody's attention, saying xin lỗi, which is excuse me, maybe kind of softens them up a bit, and I think could save you some money. The fourth word is ngon, which means delicious, and food is a huge part of Vietnamese culture, and anytime you can eat a good meal and say ngon or nong hoa, which means very delicious, usually people are very happy and enthusiastic about you being able to say that. And finally, the fifth word is Đẹp, which means beautiful, and you could say Đẹp Quá, which means very beautiful. If you're seeing somebody's house, or you're seeing some monument, or just in general, you're just seeing an amazing location, you can say Đẹp. And people usually smile and are very friendly towards you. And anytime, again, you can have people being friendly and happy towards you, it just makes your overall experience quite a bit better. Number 5 is a bit of word of advice, and maybe a little bit more of a philosophical thing, and that is to embrace flexibility. I for sure know how frustrating things can be when traveling, and you can really get your anxiety up when things are not going your way. But no, part of travel is definitely things aren't going to go completely your way. There's always going to be an unpredictable nature behind travel, and that can also be part of the appeal. You're getting outside of your comfort zone often, and it's going to be some of the better memories when things don't go your way, and you can tell better stories when you get back. Just understand and maybe try to take a deep breath when things aren't going your way, and take maybe a little bit of an overview and realize you may be doing something and being in countries and locations that most people will only get to dream about, and they would love to be in your shoes. If you can kind of take a step back and realize that, maybe a delay here and there or mix up with hotel reservations is just a small price to pay for the amazing journey that you're on. But that's all I have to say for now. If you found any of these tips helpful, be sure to hit that thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing, and drop it in the comment section below and let everybody know if maybe you have some tips of your own. Until next time, peace.